Really interesting fight at heavyweight. We have two of the bigger guys in the division in former Bellator and M-1 Global heavyweight champ Alexander Drago Volkov taking on Walt, the big ticket Harris. This is a really interesting fight because both guys have succinct finishing power. I mean, you got the hand speed of Volkov, and you look at the fight, you want a marquee Alexander Volkov fight, go back and watch his fight against Fabrizio Verdum if you want a good taste of what he can do. For Walt Harris, the Spivak win, the Alexei Oleinik win, you're beating good grapplers. And I mean, his last time out, it definitely didn't go his way. A headlining spot that the UFC booked and rebooked again against Alistair Overeem. For Volkov, his last time out against Curtis Blaydes in a main event definitely didn't go his way. And I know, Matt, you had a different view than most people did. And I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll let you get into it. But I thought that Blaydes, I mean, he took that fight overwhelmingly. It was one of those ones where it was a statement by Blaydes. And can you deny him a title shot? Well, he's been finished twice by Ngannou, so yes, you can. But Blaydes is one of those guys that if there was no Francis Ngannou, that guy would be top dog. And I mean, you can disagree with me there. I don't care if you want to. But this fight here, Alexander Volkov, Walt Harris, two primary strikers. One guy's been to the top of the hill with M1. I mean, think of their former heavyweight champ, Marcin Tybura, just lighting the world on fire. But former Bellator champ, took on really tough competition there. They both struggle against wrestlers, we know that. So at least we're getting a powerful matchup here. 6'7 versus 6'5, 88 inches of reach versus 77 inches of reach. This should be a really good one. I definitely expect a finish. How do you see this one?
So I am really excited for this fight. And just to clear up, so Alexander Volkov in his last fight against Curtis Blaydes, yes, he lost every single round. But did Curtis Blaydes show he was the better MMA fighter than Alexander Volkov, or did he show that he was the best wrestler throughout 5 rounds? And I know that's not a great argument to make, but Alexander Volkov in that fight, especially near the end of that fight, you can facepalm as much as you want, but everything I'm saying is right. By the end of that fight, he was starting to land on Curtis Blaydes, and he was starting to make Curtis Blaydes pay for the entries. Now, again, against most wrestlers at this division, you're not going to have to withstand that kind of an onslaught of wrestling, because Curtis Blaydes, we know what he's going to do. He's going to take you down, and normally, again, the Overeem fight's a great example. He has really good ground and pound, but in a 5-round fight, I think that fight showed that Blaydes doesn't deserve a title fight more than it showed that he was so dominant in that fight. Because after that fight, what were we talking about? We were talking about how Curtis Blaydes almost passed out because he was so tired. And we talked about how maybe his wrestling's not as good as we thought. And maybe his cardio's not as good as we thought. After that fight, I thought less of Curtis Blaydes. That's all I'm going to say.
Shut up.
I really don't care. So Walt Harris in his fight, yes, he had really good moments against Alistair Overeem, but the second the fight hit the mat, he wasn't really able to offer much up. With Volkov, when the fight hits the ground, if he's on his back, he is able to get back up to his feet a lot of the time. Again, against those higher level wrestlers, he's going to have trouble against. But for the most part, Volkov, if he gets taken down, will be able to get back up to his feet. With Walt Harris, that's the one thing that concerns me. His ability to get back up to his feet isn't great. Now, I don't expect this fight to be on the ground for that long of time. But what this fight comes down to, can Walt Harris close the distance on Alexander Volkov? It's one of those weird tests that a lot of heavyweights have to get by. It's, can I beat Stefan Struve, Travis Brown, or Alexander Volkov? Now, yes, all three of those guys are kind of at different stages in the rankings. Some not even fighting anymore. But you always have to fight that one really tall, rangy guy who gives you a lot of trouble with the jab and the leg kick. And Alexander Volkov is just kind of that at its highest level. The power for Walt Harris is always going to be there, but the stat that they used to always say was Walt Harris, all of his fights are done in the first round, or all of his wins are first round finishes. That's never a stat that you really want to hear, especially against a guy like Volkov, who isn't the traditional heavyweight in a sense where he's going to go out there like a Jairzinho Rosenstrike and try to knock you out in the first round. Alexander Volkov is one of the more measured heavyweights, and he will kind of wait behind the jab, let you make mistakes, and then try to capitalize on as the fight continues.
That's the thing. I mean, with Walt Harris, we look at the last 5, a win over Daniel Spitz, a split draw against Andrei Arlovsky, the win over Spivak, the win over Oleinik, and then he loses to Overeem. The level of competition is all over the place. I mean, Daniel Spitz isn't an upper-level heavyweight whatsoever. For Andrei Arlovsky, still hanging in there and having competitive fights, so that one's fine. Spivak on the lower end, but with some upside. And then Alexei Oleinik is, I mean, old man time, and he just continues to define it and turn it back. For Alexander Volkov, out of the last 5, I mean, it's top competition. Struve, Verdum, and he beats him, loses to Lewis, beats Greg Hardy, which was a weird under the circumstance type of fight, and then he loses to Curtis Blaydes. So if we look at the total Tapology votes, Matt, out of 547, 70% going Volkov, 64% saying he's going to win by decision. If we look at the odds, Volkov slightly favored, open to minus 175. A lot of money came in on him. Now it's coming in on Harris. He's a minus 180 favorite. With Walt Harris, open to plus 145. Now to plus 149 average on best fight odds. So there's definitely upside for both guys. It's just you're going from Alistair Overeem to Alexander Volkov for Walt Harris. It's kind of like a almost a lateral move. And for Volkov, you're going from Curtis Blades to Walt Harris. So for Walt Harris,
I think you're going to
it's tough.
Volkov, though. I do think Overeem's quite a bit better than Alexander Volkov because he grapples at least. Alexander Volkov's not going to shoot a takedown. With Walt Harris, after he was able to hurt Overeem, Overeem was able to recover and then use his grappling. If he hurts Volkov, Volkov can't just go into his back pocket and start grappling Walt Harris. So that's something that if Walt Harris does get off to one of these crazy good starts, because he does come with a big storm. And it does remind me of an early Rumble Johnson where Rumble, especially kind of when he was coming back to 205, it was okay. If you can withstand that storm, you can get past it. Daniel Cormier showed it. Again, he's pretty much the only guy who could. But if you can get past that first flurry, you're going to have success. With Walt Harris, he'll throw a flurry, and then he'll kind of wait and recharge. And he'll throw a flurry and wait and recharge. Not really at the level of like, Yoel Romero kind of does this, where he's either only in offensive mode or only in defensive mode. Walt Harris is a similar game. I just don't know how he closed the distance on a guy like Volkov, because his wrestling's not phenomenal, so I don't see him jumping in on the legs. I don't really see him out-clinching Volkov, because Volkov's got really good knees in the clinch. And the thing, too, the height advantage of Alexander Volkov is going to play a big factor, because for Walt Harris to have success, he's going to have to close the distance. If you close the distance on Volkov, he's going to get you in a tie clinch, he's going to throw those great elbows, he's going to bring knees up the middle. A lot of the ways and areas that Walt Harris can have success are actually going to play into the offense of Alexander Volkov, and that's why I'm picking Volkov.
And I mean, for Volkov, you want to further your argument there, striking differential, it's at a +2 rate in terms of strikes landed per minute, 4.65 to 2.53. For Walt Harris, it's in a negative 2.97 to 3.18. Striking accuracy, 58% for Volkov. And we have, big enough sample size for both these guys that you can take that into account. 39% for Harris. Take our striking defense, roughly the same, 54% Volkov, 56% Harris. And then the grappling stats, relatively negligible, but the takedown accuracy for Volkov, 70% to Walt Harris is 33%. Decent takedown defense from either guy, 72% for Harris is better than 65% for Volkov. But you're splitting hairs at a certain point because you don't expect the fight to go to the mat there. I also like the weird front kick or the push kick that Volkov will throw as well. And I have Volkov in this fight. I mean, superior striking, in general, over the length of 15 minutes, superior striking. But like you said, there's an early storm from Harris. He's a southpaw. It's a different look that you don't get every day in the gym. So for Walt Harris, there's definitely an opportunity, but I do see this fight for Alexander Volkov.
So the way I see it is Alexander Volkov's at the lower end of what I consider the elite heavyweights. If you can beat Alexander Volkov, I put you in that top 5 category. But when I say top 5, there could be 7 guys in there sometimes. There could be 4 sometimes. I just mean you are kind of in the elite of the elite if you can beat a guy like Volkov. So if Walt Harris can beat Volkov, he is sort of making that jump back to where he was before the Overeem fight. But I don't think he has the cardio edge over Volkov. I don't think he has the wrestling edge. I do think he has the power, but other than that, that's it. So
that's it. Heavyweight MMA, either guy lands. You can put the other guy's lights out. We'll both go with Alexander Volkov, but it is a great fight. Make sure you check out the rest of predictions for the card. A great main event and a great co-main event. You got Whittaker, Cannonier. You got Nurmagomedov and Gaethje. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.